Joining me today is Dr. Julie Merriman. Her book is In Pursuit of Soul Joy, but today we're going to be talking about Good Girl Detox. Many women are socialized to act as constant caregivers, the good girls who prioritize everyone else's needs above their own. However, mental health clinician, professor, and author Dr. Julie Merriman reminds us that you cannot pour from an empty cup. This deeply ingrained good girl pattern lives within the nervous system, and releasing it requires gentle, manageable steps that avoid overwhelming the body while rebuilding connections to oneself and embracing small, guilt-free moments of joy. She offers insights and compassionate strategies to help women reclaim balance, energy, and authentic connection in their daily lives. Welcome to the show. Nice to have you on, Julie.
Thank you so much, Kathryn. It's great to be here.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of take a sentence from this intro that I read, but we can't pour from an empty cup. So what does that mean in terms of the good girl detox?
Absolutely. And thank you for asking. You know, what I believe and what I've seen is that that's a myth that we can't pour from an empty cup because we do it all the time. We give and give and give when we have nothing left to give. And what I see with the folks I work with, they become that empty cup, just numb and lost and have lost well, they're giving past capacity. They've just lost sight of who they are and why they started all that in the first place.
So this is a pattern of behavior for women. And I assume, I mean, I know also a lot of your clients are women over 50, which I'm very interested in. And this is a pattern for them. But it's not a diagnosis, right? It's not a mental it's not it's not a diagnosis, but a pattern of behavior that we have learned. And
That,
yeah.
yes, Catherine, that's absolutely right. There's no DSM diagnosis here. This is just behavior. Now, it can lead to some diagnosis
Yeah.
if we don't go in there and take care of ourselves.
But we've been saying this, and I'm thinking about this and I'm reading about this pattern of behavior to describe. We've been talking about this since the 60s. We've got to get rid of this pattern behavior, unless it comes from cave women, I'm not sure, but it's and it's in our DNA. But still, I mean, this Gloria Steinem, I'm starting with the 60s. Are
Yeah.
we still in the same place as we were then?
That's such an interesting question. Uh, I think we're probably in a different place, but I um I think what's happened, and I just can speak from I mean, I'm 63. I could just speak from the women I've worked with over my 30-year career. And I loved Gloria. She had some great stuff going on, but what happened, I don't know if you remember that commercial, we can go and earn the bacon, we can earn the bacon, cook the bacon, we're just these
Yeah,
super women.
yeah.
And the
And
fact
bacon's
is,
not good for you, by the way.
but it tastes
Yeah,
so good.
yeah, it does.
But we believed we could be these super women, have the careers, be the executive, be managing everything, right? From our
Yeah,
boardroom to our bedroom, we're
yeah,
managing everything. And that just is not humanly possible. Our nervous system was not designed to do that. It kicks us into survival mode. And your brain, that amygdala, is searching for danger because that's its job. And it's seeing all this danger. Oh my God, you missed that deadline. Oh my God, you forgot to pick the kids up from school. Oh, I mean, our poor nervous system is on overdrive. We are living on these cocktails of adrenaline and cortisol, and our bodies just cannot sustain that. And by the time we hit 50 and we start losing that that great
yeah.
estrogen that is the buffer that keeps us going, we really, and I think we get wiser too, perhaps. We step back and go, what in the Sam Hill has gone on here? We
Why are
just
we
can't.
doing this?
Why do we continue to do this for ourselves? To ourselves rather, and we're scanning the environment. We know what others need before they do. Oftentimes
Yeah.
we swallow our truth to keep the peace. Our body gets to a point where it's like white flag, I cannot do this anymore.
And we feel guilty. I don't know if I mentioned that in the intro, that whole, if we don't
Oh,
do it, if we're not a good girl, there's that guilt for some reason, whether it's just a small task or, it's a
oh,
big one. And I thought about it today because I missed a doctor's appointment that I had made like 6 months ago. And
um,
I felt guilty. And I am not really a good girl. My partner of 40 years would not define, he said, you're not a good girl. Let me tell you that. But okay. Aside from, but still that kind of nagging, I
yeah,
wasn't,
I disappointed someone. I
I
let someone down.
disappointed. Right.
Yeah, I wasted someone's time. Oh, my
Yeah.
lanta. My grandmother, who was born in 1913, raised me. If I'm not there 15 minutes early, I'm late and I'm wasting people's time. That's rude. And I and we as good girls, somewhere early on, we learn to appease, to please, to serve. And guilt is a big piece of it when we stop doing that. If we set some sort of boundary, if we pull some helping back, it can literally trigger our nervous system to feel like we're going to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. We're terrified. We start sweating. Our
Yes.
tummy hurts. We just are terrified to do something that isn't going to be appeasing. And it's really important to practice not appeasing to get out of this good girl. Um, I call it the good girl detox, if you
Yeah.
will.
Well, you're the psychologist, and I want to say, and I ask this question maybe a lot on the show, to clinicians and therapists. Once you start, or one starts or stops being the good girl, you've got other people in your life whose expectations are that you do it. Your kids, your partner,
Right.
your colleagues, your boss, and then suddenly you detox. Then what happens to all of your relationships?
Right. Well, the short answer is they're going to get better, but that's not without, as my daddy used to call it, Charlie horses.
Yeah.
The growing pains. Because yes, at first they're going to go, What do you mean no? What do you mean you're not going to do that? But in the long run, we don't want to rob people of opportunities to grow and to learn things. And when we're over serving, when we're over functioning, we are robbing people of opportunities to take care of themselves, to learn to be independent, to learn that, yeah, I can do that. And I really like you so much better because when I am with you, you're present and we have much deeper conversations and our time together is much richer because you're not so dadgum exhausted and miserable from over serving. And we're it's hard to overserve like that constantly. But it takes some detoxing.
Yeah, it
I
takes detoxing. And detoxing, it just is, I guess it is, it's an addiction. And,
Yeah,
right, the same as drugs or alcohol or
we
overeating. It's the same, I guess it's the same pattern of behavior. And detox, I guess, is the right word. I was thinking
right,
of boundaries. You mentioned boundaries because I'm always talking about boundaries. Really important to establish those boundaries. And I'm thinking, don't we have to teach our daughters that? I mean, I grew up in my whole family is all men. So and kids and grandchildren, men. So I don't know if you have a daughter, but don't we have to teach our daughters not
well,
to do this? Yeah.
oh, absolutely. And in Bandura's learning theory, we can tell it all day long. They're watching us. I've raised boys as well, but I do have granddaughter. And that's been eye-opening to see how she has approached life so much differently from my boys. But, you know, the bottom line is we teach people how to treat us and the boundaries we set and what we allow. And it can be scary because we've been socialized, we've taught ourselves over the years that, well, we have to do this or X is going to happen. And so often that is a false narrative. When we set a firm boundary, people respect that. People need boundaries. We
So
need
what do
boundaries.
you think? And I'm going to put this in the context of uh, leadership, I guess. And
Yeah,
statistics aren't new, but think about it. How many women are in the C-suite? I don't know, not very many.
right.
How many women have been president of the United States? Not any. Uh, And why does it? I mean, I'm not sure that this is the only reason, but if you've been taught to be a good girl, how are you going to become the president of the United States? And I think of Hillary Clinton, whatever side you're on politically, doesn't matter. But there she was running against Donald Trump in a white pantsuit, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
5 feet tall with a 6 foot guy behind her. I was shocked. Here's a woman, Secretary of State, Senator, all of those things, and yet kind of I think fell back onto exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because that is, I mean, we have neural pathways that we've built over years and years, and it takes, and part of the detox is to rebuild neural pathways. We can do things different, but it's very difficult. And then if you're stressed, the first thing that's going to go is your ability to think outside the box and try something different. And we have to really have a game plan and strategy and a support group to help us stay the course of detoxing from that good girl syndrome and trying to build a life that is it's just it's more comfortable to be in.
But we have a
And
culture also. It's, I think, just in terms of our culture and our society, where the kinds of behaviors we've been talking about or would like to promote, being more assertive, setting boundaries, not being the good girl. Some of that is like not is looked upon with disdain in our, at work,
oh,
politics, and all of those or many other situations as well. So that's an issue that we
yeah.
have to contend with, I think. Why
Oh,
don't
I
you? Yeah.
you're absolutely right. If a man is assertive, he is respected. If a woman is assertive, the B word comes out pretty
Yeah.
quick. And that's really gonna cause you to shrink back. But, the gals I work with, I'm a somatic therapist. I do a lot of I feel like we become floating heads of competence, if you will, where we're all up in our head and we can think and, and plan and blah, 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 but we absolutely lose track of our body and how to live embodied. And the more embodied and grounded we are, the more we're not going to care so much about what others are saying about us. We're going to be grounded and seek our own truth from inside out because truly that's where it lives. Our
It,
locus of control needs to be internal, not external. And
now,
I
from
know
a
you,
from a physical standpoint, because we were talking about women over 50, for instance, when your estrogen levels plummet and your, I guess, testosterone takes over, that's your chance, ladies, at 50 and above. You care less about what people think about you. It's hormonal too, right? That happens. And
absolutely.
yeah. So, um, then it's interesting because then we're able to, I don't know, we were able to sort of, it makes it easier for us. And, since you were talking about some of your clients, who, where do you see the difference between, and I don't know what the age group is, but say 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, women, different demographics.
Um, and I've worked with all those ages. My 20 somethings, they are so much more lost, if you will, just trying to figure out who they are, in
Yeah.
that uh, ages and stages. That's kind of the stage they're in. 30s, you're so caught up in just trying to raise your children, get ahead at work, you keep your head above water, make all the soccer games.
Yeah.
40s, you start kind of thinking, is this all there is? What's going on here? What have I really been busted my butt for? And then 50s, that's where you either have I've seen I know there's more than A or B, but I'm going to slice it into A or B. I have my gals who are so caught up in their families and kids, and the kids leave, and there's a crisis. I'm married to him. I've got to spend my time with him.
Yeah.
But my kids, what about my kids? So they really go through a crisis of when the kids leave, who am I without the kids? Or they are so ready to do life a little different. I've got the t-shirts, I've hit all my goals. My kids are doing great. I really want to get to know me better and my next chapter, live it so rich and so full and bring what I want forward. Because we spend a lot of time tapping down what we want, trying to take care of others, trying to, you know, get the kids out of the nest, but first you got to build that nest, right? And then get the
Yeah.
kids out of the nest. And so by the 50s, your give a care usually has decreased quite a bit. I'm going to step into me now. I'm going to have my homecoming. And that's what I work a lot with women on, their homecoming. Let's get this good girl piece detoxed and let's get you home to yourself. And that
That,
is,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
well, I was going to say, that's just so fun to watch someone come in who you can just feel their energy. It's just so weak and their eyes are kind of downcast. And by the time they leave, they are like full of themselves and so vibrant.
Now you've had your own personal journey, right?
Oh,
And I guess you relate some of that to your own burnout, I guess, the whole gestalt,
the
uh,
whole
the
gestalt.
whole
Absolutely.
gestalt, right? And was diagnosed with breast cancer. So
Right.
was that your turn? Was that your personal, I guess, awareness or revelation? I've got to do things differently.
Well, you would,
You would
yes.
think so, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, really, when I first woke up and thought, "What in the heck is going on?" I had given a speech, to a packed house, standing ovation. You would have thought, I mean, from the outside, things looked successful. You would have thought when I came off stage, I'd feel so great. Girl, I was numb. I felt so disconnected. I I felt lost in my life. I was like, what is going on? I've hit every marker I wanted to hit, but felt no sense of accomplishment. That was really where I woke up and thought, okay, something wrong is happening. And then breast cancer, I'm the only one in my family who's had it. I truly believe that was a culmination of all the cocktail of adrenaline and cortisol I've been living
Yeah.
on for so many years and not taking care of myself. My immune system was so suppressed. But the wake up call really was when I came off that stage and I started getting curious and I started experimenting with boundaries and I started it could we good girls, we're the ones you want to hire. We're going to work till 10 o'clock at night to make sure that's done. We're going to take those extra hard cases. We're going to accept those extra clients or whatever we might be doing because we have learned that our value, our worth is tied to our performance. And I really had to do some experimentation with that. Do a little less, and I'll be darned, no one really noticed. Do a little less, and still kept my job and got promotions. You do a little less. But that's when my experimenting started. And my book, In Pursuit of Soul Joy, it's a 12-week journey, but that is the roadmap I used back. And I just published a book last week. I have a new book out that is I guess it's the next in the series. It's called Are We Going to Have Sex or What? And it's a midlife guide to, feeling fully alive again and embodied. Let's get over the burnout, then let's get yourself out of the numbness.
Okay, so yes, are we going to have sex or what? Can you answer? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we going to have sex or what after 50, are we saying?
Well,
Postmenopausal?
well, that's part of it. Yes, absolutely. But it's the midlife guide to reigniting desire, reclaiming your body, and feeling fully alive. So it really is more about nervous system regulation when we're completely stressed out, as we often are when we're so busy being good girls. As I said, our nervous system, it gets into survival mode, so your body doesn't feel safe. The first thing the brain will do, because it's very selfish with energy, it
Yeah.
takes pleasure offline, digestion offline, all the all the yummy things go offline because we have told our body, I'm just trying to survive. So it's in fight or flight or dorsal or the fawning stage so often that we forget how to experiment with pleasure. And a lot of women feel like they're broken. They're not. I mean, hormones are an issue, absolutely, but getting that nervous system regulated is really important
Yeah.
after 50.
Well, we only have so much energy, I think is what you said. So if you're spending
Yeah.
all of your energy on your kids and you're in overload trying to be the good girl, it's very difficult to relax and enjoy and have sex when you want to and feel
Right.
not racing and running. My mother, we had 3 kids. I was the oldest. She put a bolt on her door. I never knew what it was for. Now I do, but uh,
Good for her.
good for her. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it's true. Or so, yeah. So the book is coming out, or is it out now?
It's out now. It's available on Amazon. It came out Monday, I guess. So yeah, it's out, and I'm excited about, when we've had time, we're in our 50s, we've had a lot of obligatory sex. You're busy, but you want to please your partner, but you're sitting, you're thinking, oh, my to-do
I have
list,
10
homework.
minutes. I have 20 minutes. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. I've got to
I
write.
gotta make those cupcakes for the school
That's
party,
right.
you know.
Yeah.
And we've trained our body that pleasure is not a priority. So yeah, put the bolt on the door. Love that.
Yeah, right. That's good advice for your younger crowd, right? Yeah, I
It
think
certainly is.
where the kids are still there. Yeah, put the bolt on the door. So
Yeah.
it opens up a whole new, what you're saying is a whole new opportunity. Let's say we'll talk about over 50 because the kids are gone. You can, there's a whole freedom there. Sometimes just not just women, but men, when all that freedom is there, it's kind of scary. I mean,
I
right?
yes.
That's why they need you. But yeah.
But absolutely, people, especially if we've been so trained to be doing has been our drug. Busy has been our drug. It's terrifying. I just got back from a 20-day transatlantic, excursion in Europe, and it was fascinating to watch the people as we floated back on the boat. Some, I mean, they might have 3 devices in their hands. You could tell the ones that were executives that absolutely could not relax.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's very scary not to have all these things I need to get done. Let me just sit and be with myself. And that's part of that somatic getting embodied. We spend a lot of time running from our feelings. It's very important to learn a full body scan, understand what you're feeling where, and sit with it. I like to teach my clients to put their hand wherever they might be feeling a physical sensation and just ask, because our body is so wise. Our body is so wise. Ask yourself, what is it that I need?
Yeah.
But allow space and time. Practice that pause to get that answer. It is so important. And that's just something we're not taught.
No, I think that what you just said, our bodies are so wise. Our bodies will tell us, you're right, immediately, right? And over time and every day, but we don't listen.
No.
We don't listen. I want to go back to the cruise because, like, okay, they're would you say half the people, they're supposed to be relaxing and enjoying each other and maybe connecting with other people, but they're not? I mean, half the people are
Yes.
doing that, or were there people who, as you were observing, because you're a psychologist, so you're looking at all these people. They don't know you're looking at them, I assume. But
I hope not.
yeah, I mean, what else did you see? Did you observe anybody or groups of
Well,
people who are having fun?
oh, absolutely. I
Yeah,
observe those folks that, get out there and are the life of the party. I observe folks just reading a book and chilling out. And I observed folks in the hot tub connecting with others, wonderful conversations. And then I observed those folks who you could just, of course, because I am a mental health clinician, I can, I mean, that's what I do. I connect with other people's energy, and I could feel just the tension. They were not having a good
yeah.
time.
Well,
But
you bring yourself with you wherever you go, whether you're going
you
to
do.
Europe or not. You're the same person. So, and you carry all that stuff with you, even if you are in a different continent, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You're the person of the therapist, but it really made me think, because most of the folks, of course, on the cruise were 50 and above,
Yeah.
because it was a long time to be away from, from
Yeah.
work and such. But I was just, it really, I thought that was so interesting. And I read a research study, I think yesterday morning, that, and I apologize, I don't remember who did this study, but the essence of the study was that after 65, we're not declining. the study showed that we're getting better. We are, our cognitions are getting stronger. We're able to uh, just accomplish things that perhaps my grandmother's generation, born in 1913, they didn't get to experience. So there's something wonderful going on for those of us in our 60s these days to look forward to. We are
Yeah.
not done.
We're
We
not done,
have
and I think we have to be done with our show because we only have a couple of minutes left. But, I just want to comment on that just for a second because I think we're able to reap, I guess, all the benefits of our experiences, which perhaps our
yes.
grandmothers were not able to do because we've had so many experiences to draw upon, and we're still now in the 21st century, we are healthy and we can take all those experiences and really use them positively, as you say. But anyway, I just want to mention your 12-week guide book, In Pursuit of Soul Joy, and the one, Are We Going to Have Sex or What? And I have been talking to Dr. Julie Merriman, PhD, Good Girl Detox. So give us platforms to go to or websites for more information about your work, what you're doing, and the books.
Absolutely. I have two podcasts that go with each book, Compassion Fatigue Cure and Sexy After 50, all the podcast platforms. On my website, www. Merriman, PhD, I've got a link to everything. If folks join my VIP with my new book, I'm doing a monthly group meeting because women need other women. So
Yeah.
we'll meet monthly to just support and process the book. But I'm on YouTube. I highly encourage folks to check out YouTube. I've got a lot of educational videos on there.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being on the show today. Great talking to you.
Thank you, Kathryn. It's
Yeah.
been wonderful to visit with you.
Thank you. Joining me today is D. Earl Johnston, author of Choosing Emotions, Thinking with Your Head and Acting with Your Heart. For centuries, emotion has been debated, measured, regulated, and theorized, yet no single work has mapped the full range of everyday emotional experience across disciplines. Until now, D. Earl Johnston introduces a groundbreaking reference that defines 272 emotional states, drawing on 3,000 years of thought spanning philosophy, science, linguistics, psychology, art, and spiritual traditions. Expanding far beyond psychology, the work integrates perspectives from 7 fields and over 30 philosophical and faith traditions. Organized as an accessible emotionary, it also presents 3 frameworks: emotions as an an operating system, internal operating system, the gears driving behavior, and an underlying bridge across cultures. Mr. Johnston, Doug, is a former corporate executive. He's a world champion sailor, and he is a multi-decade career spanning banking. He has one, private and equity, and I could go on, but I'm going to let him tell you about it. Welcome to the show, Doug. Nice to have you on.
Kathryn, great to be with you. I love your show. I love your website. The items and topics you cover are very friendly territory to me.
Okay, good, great. So we have a lot to talk about. So let's talk about emotions and emotionary. Never heard that term before. Well, what does it actually mean to choose an emotion? What are we talking about?
Wonderful lead question. So, if I may, I'll give you a quick background of how I came to write a book about emotions. As a professional researcher hired by law firms to research finance and business cases, I developed that sort of bias in my life. I was known by my family, my daughter especially, as a researcher. We had dinners every 2 weeks, father-daughter dinners, where I would bring, instead of just giving her, Kathryn, an allowance, I decided to ask her to earn it. I would bring a list of 200 questions about almost anything, geography, history, music, art, science, athletics, politics, you name it. And if she got the right answer, I would slide a $2 bill across the table to her. We called that game College Bowl, and she loved it. I mean, and it was good for both of us. I got some insight into her life as a teenager, and she could earn a meaningful allowance. So one night, that was back when she was in 8th grade, 10 years ago. 10th grade, she came to dinner with sort of a sullen look, and she said, "Dad, may I ask the question tonight?" And I said, "Of course." And she said, "Well, what is depression?" And I tried, Kathryn, to sort of duck the issue. I faked like she was asking about economics because that's my strength. And she said, "No, Dad, not economic depression. I'm talking about emotional depression." And it was really clear to me that this was a topic that I knew little about and that was very important to her. And I said, "Sweetheart, I don't know anything about it. But I'm going to do some research." So for the next 2 weeks, I surrounded myself with books from Barnes and Noble online, articles, 2 laptops, digging into what depression was. And I found that there was a lot of help from psychologists and textbooks, but it was mostly scientific help. There were a lot of acronyms. There were a lot of terms that you sort of had to look at another reference to understand what you were reading. What I learned in that process, in that 2 weeks, I started coming across quotes from people who had experienced the emotion of depression and had survived, and I jotted them down. So uh, before I met with her 2 weeks later, I had jotted down 3 different quotes that were very helpful to me. I'll read the first of them from Rollo May. Rollo May was one of the first self-help authors in the 1950s. He had his PhD in psychology and was well known back before the term self-help was even existed. His quote about depression, which he had personally survived, was, "Depression is the inability to construct a future." And the moment I read it, I just said, that really moves me. That's powerful. A couple of days later, I came across a quote from J.K. Rowling. I'm sure you know who she is, the author of the Harry Potter series. She also, as a young woman, had suffered terribly from depression. And her quote is, "Depression is that absence of being able to envision you will ever be cheerful again. It's the most unpleasant thing I've ever experienced." Well, that sort of grabbed me also. So I wrote that down. And a third, I came across another quote from a depression survivor, a very talented freelance writer, not yet famous, but her name is Haley Cornell. And she wrote this: depression lies. It tells you you've always felt this way and you always will, but you haven't and you won't. So imagine I'm surrounded by books and post-it notes, and I decided, 10 days into it, I'm going to just text them across town. My daughter was in class. So I texted them to her, those three quotes, and she texted back within minutes. She probably shouldn't have been texting from class, but she did. And she said, Dad, I'm crying. And I was alarmed. And I went, sweetheart, why are you crying? These are people who survived it. And she said, that's why I'm crying. Thank you. Well, I realized I was onto something, that quotes from people who've experienced an emotion can be more powerful than scientific explanations by law. And so we moved from understanding her depression to, we started casting a net broader to anxiety, to OCD, to codependence, to addiction, to all sorts of things. Those are not problems my daughter solved, but we handled them the same way. We did research. And ultimately, 9 years later, the book is 272 different emotional states, as described by 4,000 quotes across 3,000 or 2,500 years of history. That's a lot of numbers, but I didn't realize, Kathryn, until the book was finished, that it constitutes the single most comprehensive reference volume about emotions in the English language.
So if we're going to, anyone who, or all of those who want to buy the book, can we take it kind of step by step? So can we make it sort of in terms of what their everyday personal conflicts that they have to deal with?
You bet.
Yeah.
You bet. So this is arranged in alphabetical order. There are 272 different emotional states. If you think that you might have issues with anxiety or addiction or bullying, or you simply want to investigate interesting, fun aspects of life, like enthusiasm or wonder or zeal or excitement, or other fun things like luck or lust or narcissism, not necessarily a fun thing, or you are encountering panic, it reads like a dictionary, but it's quite a bit different from a dictionary because we're actually including quotes from people who've experienced it. And that's what makes it an emotionary, different from a dictionary.
All right. So give us an example.
I came across the emotions generally are, there's a wonderful humorous expression from a psychologist by the name of Harriet Lerner, and it's humor. And she says emotions are like children. You don't want them driving the car, but you can't stuff them in the trunk either. And I heard that and it made me laugh, so I wanted to share it with you.
So emotions guide. I just want to kind of clarify this. So these emotions are guiding our behavior, but we actually have the ability to choose our emotions. They don't just happen. That's what you're saying.
Beautifully
right?
said.
Yeah.
Emotions are actually our own internal navigational system. So emotions lead us away from things like pain, but they can also lead us and guide us to things like wonder and joy and curiosity. If we understand them as navigational, we're not afraid of them anymore. And sort of the byline of the book, subtitle of the book, would be Making Friends with Your Emotions. Don't be afraid of them, understand them. They're tools to navigate your life.
Yeah. Because we tend to, I think, stick to the cognitive, right? There's that our cognitions, our intellect are what guides our behavior. And that we have more of a choice when it comes to that.
We have a choice, and we're happiest when we're making a choice. Rather than being a victim of pain or, hey, somebody was bullying me, which happens in life to all of us. Rather than being a victim, why not be a victor? Why not realize that you can actually choose your emotion? You can choose to be happy. You can choose to change your beliefs. You can choose to be happy. And so,
but what about, I got to stop you there. What about the bullier? Can't they choose their emotions as well?
They can, but again, it's navigational. You need to look at each of us. We need to look at our scene and decide what's important. What do I want to do? What's that other person doing? Maybe I simply exit the scene. Maybe I just get out of the vicinity of the bully, of course. But what we learned through the top scientists in the world, and I mean across all disciplines, is that words are the way that we solve problems and emotions are articulated in words. So whether it's Lisa Feldman Barrett, who was one of the top neuroscientists in the world, one of the top 1% most cited scientists in the world, a neuroscientist at Northeastern University, she says, in essence, the key to solving problems is having granular emotional words to solve it.
Okay,
But
so
it's
what
not
are
just,
granular? Let's define that.
thank you. Granular would be sort of the difference between anxious or nervous or stuck. It is knowing the difference between those words and having the exact, as close as we can, the exact right vocabulary to address it. So Lisa Feldman Barrett talks about the importance of granular vocabulary. It's actually having the words to address the problem. So I'm not a psychologist, but imagine this scene. It's pretty easy to imagine. You're a psychologist and you have in the chair opposite you a patient, and the patient is saying, gee, I'm just anxious all the time. I'm just anxious all the time. Well, the real problem might not be anxiety. The real problem might be addiction. And yet the psychologist, the therapist needs to know what the issues are. So if a therapist puts out a series of words and or phrases used by other people, the patient can look down the list and say, well, that's really the way I feel. And then they're making progress. So granularity is finding the specific words that describe your specific condition.
Okay, how does that fit in? I always like to put this stuff into context. I mean, how does this fit into the political context? Let's say you have congressmen, congresswomen, a president who is spewing out all kinds of emotional words that have an impact on behavior, not only the politicians' behavior, but the behavior of other politicians, countries, how does that work if one doesn't have control over their emotions and you are in a position of power?
Well, politics obviously is in the fore and around the world every day and every hour. These years that we're all living, how extraordinary. Winston Churchill, who you'll recall was Prime Minister of England during World War II, that was a pretty turbulent time. Imagine you're in London and the Nazis are bombing you every night. They had buzz bombs that were simply landing in neighborhoods and exploding, and you didn't know from one day to the next whether your neighbor was going to die or not. Not too different from what's been happening in Iran, for example, or Israel or Lebanon. Winston Churchill went on the radio on the BBC as that nation's number one politician, as prime minister, and he has radio broadcasts, and he's speaking to a nation that's in fear. And he says 8 words that I find so compelling. He says, fear is a reaction, courage is a decision. And obviously he's emphasizing be courageous, decide that you can choose how you feel, how you act, and how you proceed, how you navigate your life. I greatly admired that. He ended up winning, aside from being the Prime Minister of England, he ended up winning the Nobel Prize for Literature for his ability to articulate things like that. I wish we had a few more leaders like him at the moment.
We don't.
but at the moment we don't. We have what we have.
Well, so we do have what we have, but so do we as individuals have any kind of ability to react to the kinds of words that we're hearing, which are not like Winston Churchill, for instance, which are calming, etc. What do we do?
Well, if something's troubling you, you sit down and you spot it. And you say, well, do I really have to listen to this? Is a reasonable question. Can I move in a different direction? Can I surround myself with like-minded people who are more positive? Yes, of course you can. You can actually even turn off the TV for a while and call a friend and laugh. You don't have to be subject always to what some other person is saying or doing. You can create your own world? And the answer to that is you get to choose your emotions, provided you realize that you can. All too often, people say, "Gee, my boss is being difficult, or my child is being difficult. I'm the victim of this." You can, by recognizing it, taking a step back and saying, "I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose to laugh. I'm going to choose to pick an emotion that's more suitable than fear or antagonism or whatever it is that you're feeling." But when you realize that you are choosing, you empower yourself. That's really my best answer to your question, I think.
Yeah. So when it's our choice, and then I heard you say something else, we need support as well. Seek support, right?
Find your tribe, find the
Yeah.
people who are like-minded, and enjoy that, instead of turning on the TV and seeing something you don't like. You get to command your hours. If you've got a boss who's quite difficult, well, those hours are going to be those hours unless you decide you choose to find a different job.
Yeah.
But it's very common for people to say, "I'm a victim." Well, you might be, but you can also be a victor. You can make different decisions that navigate you into different arenas.
Well, we gave an example. You don't have to listen to the news all the time. You can regulate what you're watching or how often you're watching it, and that will help you to choose your response to the news. If you have it on 24/7 and you choose to be driven crazy, that's your choice. Is that what you?
It is your choice. And, why not pick up a book instead, something that makes you laugh? I mean, would you rather spend the next hour laughing at something or being fearful?
Yeah. I do have one issue, though. I don't want to miss anything. Maybe if I don't listen to the news, not 24/7, but more often than I should, then I'm not going to be well informed. So,
It's a
yeah.
wonderful observation. My experience is that you can get most everything you want anytime you want off the internet. And that's more at your speed, instead of, live pictures of explosions and the like. You find out at the end of the day what happened. It's not hard, but you can fill more of your day with things that are more meaningful.
Yep. And I choose to watch, I've changed what I think news stations that are new, on that cable news, for instance, I choose maybe different news stations than I used to. Ones that sort of present the news, but not ones that come at you like with kind of this dramatic effect in terms of how they're presenting the news, which does can scare you or frighten you or make you feel uncomfortable. And I think the um, journalists have a lot to do with that too, but that's another topic. Yeah.
That's a different topic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you talk to a lot of students, as I understand it, right?
I do.
Yeah, you got
And
the speaker. I have to say this, you got the speaker of the year from over 1,000 students.
I did. Imagine me as a corporate executive talking to repeatedly, dozens and dozens of times, to high school juniors who were typically advanced placement. So these are kids who were likely to be going in a year and a half to good colleges. And, I needed to get on their wavelength about, they were interested in the business world. I was interested in relating to them. I came across three things that I think you and your audience might really enjoy, which is that the average person, whether you're a student or an adult, the average person has three misunderstandings about emotions. And I'm going to give them to you very quickly. The average American believes that there are only between 8 and 28 emotions. Well, I've documented that they're in the low hundreds at least. But the average person thinks that emotions are limited, and they're much more expansive than you know. And I'm not talking about complex 5-syllable emotions. I'm talking about things like uh, humor, luck, narcissism, panic, poetry, blushing, flirtation. I mean, as you look at it, they're quite a lot more. The second issue that most people misunderstand about emotions is most people think that emotions are only occasional, periodic. This morning I was nervous. Yesterday afternoon I was calm. Tuesday of next week, I think I'm going to be really excited because I'm going to go to a music concert. But they tend to, the average person tends to think emotions are separated by a lot of time and they're only occasional, and the rest of the time we're sort of rational and reasonable. The truth is that we are always changing from one emotion to the next. I'll give you an example. So let's say you're sitting alone in your living room on a Saturday, you're the only person there, you're bored, and then you're lonely, and then you say, well, I'm going to turn on the TV and see what's on. So you turn on the TV, you're curious. You turn on the TV, it's the same rerun that you saw, you don't see much else, you're bored again, you turn the TV off. You say, well, I'm going to see what's in the kitchen. You're curious. You walk into the kitchen, you spot the refrigerator, you go, aha, excitement. That goodie that I left in there last night. You open the refrigerator door, zeal, there it is. Yum, I can't wait. So you reach for it to eat the goodie from last night. Your cell phone goes off, you're annoyed. It's a telemarketer, and you figure out how to dismiss the telemarketer. You return to your goodie, satisfaction. Yeah, it was wonderful. Then you think, well, I'm going to see what my friend Mary is up to. You're curious, you pick up the phone and you call. I think you get my point, which is that we're always navigating from one scenario to the next, constantly from one emotion to the next.
So our emotions are fluid.
They're fluid and they're
fluid.
continuous and they're iterative, to use a word. Very important. The third thing, perhaps the most important misunderstanding the average person has about emotions is, culturally or whatever, we tend to regard emotions as inferior to reason. That if you're really living a good life, you're a rational person. You follow principles of logic all the time. And the topmost scientists, Nobel laureates, Honda Prize winners, the top neuroscientists, psychologists, engineers in the world all agree that emotions are foundational to reason. So if you've ever heard, Kathryn, somebody say, well, gee, I'm going to stay away from Bill because he gets emotional. We've all heard talk like that. But at the highest levels of science and the arts, it is agreed by Nobel and other of that sort that emotions are foundational to reason. You can't use reason unless your emotions assign value to it. So unlike the Mr. Spock, Captain Kirk world of Star Trek from decades ago, where Mr. Spock was this supposedly solidly rational being who occasionally got annoyed by pesky humans and their emotions, that's really not, that's in reverse. The top minds of the world all agree that emotions are foundational to reason. And once you understand that, it's a pretty powerful thought.
Yeah, because how many times do people say, oh, you're overreacting?
Yes, and so emotions get a bad rep, but science says differently. Science says we are emotional first. Leonardo da Vinci said it. Antonio Damasio, who is one of the top neuroscientists in the world, has an expression that summarizes that we are feeling beings that think. We are not thinking beings that feel. And that one sentence says a lot, that we are fundamentally interpret the world first through our emotions. And once you realize that, and that you can choose them, a lot of things start to shift and improve.
Yeah. Well, as you said, I think in the beginning that we don't become victims. I mean, isn't that it? We don't become,
it is
we don't
life.
have to be victims of our emotions.
If we want to be happy, let's not be victims. Let's be victors. Let's choose. Let's realize that we can choose. If your habit is to turn on the TV and be in fear for 12 hours a day, well, I mean, don't we only have ourselves to blame for that?
Yeah, it's your choice. It's true. We do. Yeah, the whole the book is choosing emotions. We only have a couple minutes left. Thinking with your head and acting with your heart. Yeah. So
I have, if I may offer something that I think might be helpful. So I was explaining to my friend Patrick about this issue of, there aren't just 8 to 28 different emotions. They're in the hundreds. And so he understood it. He took a look at the book. He started flipping through. He said, this is pretty interesting. And then he turned to me and he said something that really moved me, which was, what you're saying is that emotions are like keys on a piano. We need to use more of them if we want to live a full life. And I said, wonderful. I said, I love that picture of, keys on the piano. But he said, aren't most of us then just playing chopsticks? And I laughed. I said, "Gosh, what an insightful quote." Yes, I mean, if you want to play music in your life, use more of the keys. Have the vocabulary to use more of the keys. I
And
thought
you
that was
will
very
have that if
powerful.
you buy the book, right? Or listen to the
And
book.
you'll have that if you buy the
Yes,
book.
if you buy the book. So, okay, so give us some platforms, websites to go to for more.
Choosing Emotions is available, of course, on Amazon in Kindle, in paperback, in hardback. It's available on Amazon, at Ingram Spark, and numerous other places. It's been doing very, very well in Amazon in multiple categories. So, book's off to a very good start.
Fantastic. Congratulations on the book.
Thank
And
you, Kathryn.
yeah, the author of the book is D. Earl Johnston, but you can call him Doug, right?
Please call me Doug.
Call him Doug. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your being on the show today.
My pleasure. Enjoyed every moment.
Thank you.